Hello guys, it's Ronke here for Niger Foodie. So today I'm going to show you how I make the most delicious fried fish stew. One of the questions people ask me often is, Ronke, what kind of fish is best for Nigerian fish stew? And that is what we're going to go over in this video today. So this is the fish. I typically buy it frozen and then I will leave it out to defrost overnight. I've never done it where I've just taken the fish out of the freezer and I'm like cooking it straight up. I always wait for it to defrost. And one other tip is that when you're going to fry fish, you want to remove as much moisture from it as humanly possible. So when I wash my fish, I usually would rest it just to drain out the water. That way you don't get a lot of like oil just splashing everywhere when you're frying it, and it just helps to keep things calm. So I seasoned my fish with some spices. I typically use ginger, salt, and Maggi. I keep it super simple, and then I fry it until everything is golden, as you can kind of see in this video. Frying fish is a little delicate. If you can get like a screen guard, and that prevents like oil just from flying over all over your kitchen. But the less moisture the fish has, the less water will kind of like pop in the fish, and the less oil you're going to get all over your kitchen. So if you can get a splatter guard, it's helpful. If you don't have that, it's fine as well. Just remove as much water as you can. Okay, so once the fish is all fried, we're going to go into making the stew. The first thing that I do is I add a little bit of onion and ginger into my oil, and this is a step that you can definitely skip. I like to do it this step because it just impacts flavor into the oil that I'm using, which carries throughout the fish stew. So I'm just frying this, letting it flavor the oil, and I'm actually going to take this out. And I usually use this in like the fried onion in other recipes, but you can discard it if you want. Next, I'm going to go in with my already parboiled stew base. If you're looking for the perfect ratio for Nigerian stew base, just Google Niger Foodie stew. You will find my ratio. I will put a link to my stew base recipe in the description box below. So oil, and then the stew base. And I added in a little bit of water just to loosen it. If you want to use like stock or anything, this is where you add it in, just to kind of loosen it. Remember, the more you cook it, the thicker it's going to get. So you don't want to start out with a super thick base to begin with, right? Because the longer you cook it, and you're still going to cook it this for about 30-ish minutes, the thicker it's going to get. So again, simple spices, salt. I have smoked chipotle pepper and Maggi. You can use just salt and Maggi. You can use salt, Maggi, and smoked paprika. Anything smoky really lends itself well in terms of like flavoring Nigerian stew. So I typically would use smoked paprika or chipotle pepper or other kinds of like smoked peppers in my stew. Fish stew, I don't use curry and thyme because I think it's super overpowering in terms of flavor. So I just keep my spices simple. Okay, now I'm going in with the fish, and caution here. It's fried fish stew. I know a lot of us will want to like cook it on super high heat, but if you cook it on super high heat, there's tendency for the fish to actually break apart. So remember to use low to medium heat when you're like letting it simmer. I was looking for the right word there. When you're letting it simmer, make sure you use, low, medium heat just to kind of like get everything cooked. And typically I would simmer this for about 20 minutes. And just so you know, when this is done, you're not going to see lots of oil at the top. I know a lot of us think that we have to wait for the oil to float to the top for us to know that the stew is ready. Once it's done, it's 20 minutes. Just cover it, turn off the heat, cover it, and naturally the rest of the oil will float to the top of the stew. And what you get is super delicious, gorgeous stew. And even though there's so many different kinds of like fish that you can use for Nigerian fish stew, hake, which is what I've used here, it's called ake or ake, H-A-K-E, is also called whitening. This is the kind of stew that I find to be the best. It absorbs a lot of oil into, especially when it's fried, it absorbs a lot of flavor of the stew. It's very sturdy and it's just like super meaty. You would typically find this in Nigerian grocery stores. Abroad, it's typically sold frozen. But yeah, that's that. Let me know in the comment section if you love this recipe.